On June 27, 2026, a World War II reenactment was held in Tidioute, Pennsylvania. Those gathered helped to recreate the Battle of Remagen, the battle that helped hasten the end of the war. March 1945. The once imposing German army is depleted. It must now rely on poorly trained militia and inexperienced soldiers. For fear of being court-martialed or executed, German officers keep the true state of affairs from their paranoid and heavily medicated Führer. On March 1st, 1945, the Allies launch Operation Lumberjack, concentrating their forces towards Cologne, Bonn, and Remagen. One of their objectives is to capture a bridgehead across the River Rhine. This will allow them to enter the heartland of Germany and hasten the end of the war. The Germans try to muster what forces they can to defend the city of Cologne, but years of constant war has drained them of their manpower, resources, and resolve. The defenses around Cologne break, allowing for the Allies to press their advantage. As many as 5,000 German soldiers surrendered during the initial phase of Operation Lumberjack. The Americans are able to capture the city of Cologne, but the Germans destroy all the bridges across the Rhine River. All, that is, except for one, the bridge at Remagen. Before continuing on with the battle, let us take a step back and examine an important but overlooked element of World War II. In war, knowing the terrain is vital for victory. Today we talk to a member of the 61st Reconnaissance and Cartography, which is part of the 11th Panzer Division.
We were charged with pretty much going out and making maps and making sure that when the Army advances we had a good route, and we also knew what was coming up. So if you're familiar with the Viewmasters, I don't know, that's getting way back now, but they were these optics that you could take, and you take two aerial photos of a similar area, and you could put them next to each other. You'll get a 3D view, and a lot of the technology that our unit used was actually used to help plan the moon landing. So Germans, as far as their cartography capabilities, were way ahead of their time. So we would be going forward. We were armored reconnaissance, so we have a half track that we'll ride in, and we'll go out, we'll get some measurements, and everybody participates, not just an officer and the men just kind of stand around making sure things are safe. We all go out and we take, just note some things down that we think are, okay, here's an interesting terrain feature, here's something that might be a good defensive or offensive position. and that information would get sent back to the nearest headquarters, and a Helfrin would take our recordings down and actually create a full map that would get handed out to the rest of the army. A lot of trigonometry involved because a lot of, or pretty much all the officers, because you'll see here my shoulder boards, they're yellow.
Okay.
Our officers would be red because they would take them from the artillery. They're already familiar with the mathematics involved, so a lot of the actual very difficult mathematics and whatnot were handled by officers, whereas somebody like me would just kind of either make a sketch or just try and note down some observations as we go along. In the interwar period, Michelin wanted to sell more tires, and in doing that, they made maps. They're like, hey, here's different places you can go, and they made one of France that was so detailed that the Germans just completely disregarded getting any kind of reconnaissance before the war. Yeah, they had them for Poland, France, parts of the USSR. I mean, no, Michelin definitely big help to the Germans. Personally, I just wish people would know more about the cartography and like what reconnaissance entails, because a lot of times in media when it's like a recon mission, it's just okay, we're gonna go out there and we'll use our eyes and maybe take a few photographs, but there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more on the back end. Doesn't matter how good your reconnaissance is if it doesn't properly get dispersed, that information, or if it doesn't get properly implemented, it doesn't really matter.
The bridge at Remagen had yet to be demolished by the Germans. The Germans attempt to blow up the bridge, but it fails. The Allies push forward. The Germans are forced to retreat. In desperation, the Luftwaffe attempt to destroy the bridge with bombs, aircraft, and even V-2 rockets. All these attacks failed. The bridge would finally collapse on March 17th, but by then the Allies had established 2 more bridges across the Rhine River. The battle would help hasten the end of the war. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already.